Nicky Price.
BBC Radio Gloucestershire.
Welcome to the show. I hope you've had a good day so far. Thursday afternoon show then coming up to 3:10 on BBC Radio Gloucestershire. And we're going to start today by talking about a festival called the Taking Flight Festival. As I mentioned earlier, it's a celebration of British Asian writers. It's coming to Cheltenham's Everyman Theatre studio next Tuesday and Wednesday. And you'll be able to see various stories performed on stage there. Let's hear all about it with Michelle Yim, who's from Red Dragon Productions, who are organising it all. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much.
Chandi, Lakhani, if I pronounced that correctly.
Lakhani.
Lakhani. Half of your name was pronounced correctly.
But you got the most important part right.
Chandi. And also Sammy, Wong, who's here as well. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Thank you for coming in. And you've come all the way from London to be here today. So we appreciate you coming into the studio to tell us about the stories that you've written. And that what you had to do was think of stories with your Asian background in mind that would translate onto a stage. So you've been picked, your stories have been picked to be performed on the Everyman Theatre stage. So we'll hear about those in a moment. But first of all, of the three of you, Chandi, you've chosen the music for this afternoon, haven't you?
Much to the dismay of Michelle and Sammy.
the soundtrack for this afternoon in Pick My Playlist. And what we ask people to do is come up with one of the first songs you bought. We're going to hear the Spice Girls soon. Also, one of the most recent songs you've downloaded, a George Michael track. A lot of people going for George Michael, of course, after he lost his life, sadly, at the end of last year. But also one of your favourite ever songs and least favourite. And then everybody listening has to choose which one of those will be played. I'm very interested to find out what people like to listen to. So you've chosen actually one of the longest songs that we'll play,
really?
which is, it's 6 minutes long, this one.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
So why have you gone for the Eagles then, Hotel California?
So the Eagles are my dad's favourite band ever, which is, I guess, when I was growing up, I never thought that was an odd thing. And it's not odd necessarily, but I guess an Indian guy that's come from Uganda is probably, you wouldn't have thought the Eagles was one of his favourite bands, but it really was. And every Saturday we used to go and visit my grandparents, and we had an hour-long car journey there and an hour back, and we used to listen to the Eagles like every week, and it was sort of it's a very special song. When it comes on, it reminds me of those sort of car journeys and pretending that we were on our way to the beach in California instead of northwest London. But
so it takes you back then to childhood, this one, and your dad's favourite band. Well, you had to pick them, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Really? Yeah. So the Eagles' Hotel California is your pick for your favourite song. What about least favourite? What have you gone for?
The least favourites, I've gone for Tragedy by Steps, which, please don't get me wrong, I'm not dissing Steps. They are great. And actually, I can't even describe the amount of joy that I got from rewatching the video to Tragedy. So anyone who is having a dreary Thursday, I'd recommend
just do some dance moves.
Just YouTubing that.
Do the dance moves.
It's wonderful.
Cheer
But when I was at school, it's another childhood memory, which is kind of what my play's about. So I've sort of tied it in a little bit. But because name pronunciation was something I've always had to deal with, and people found Tragedy weirdly an easy way of remembering how to say my name. So instead of the word tragedy, they would just say Chandi, and it got quite annoying. So that's why it's my least favourite song.
So something irritating.
Please
from
don't
childhood.
pick it, please.
And she doesn't really want to hear it this afternoon, do you? No. Okay, it's up to everybody at home. It's either Eagles or Steps. Here's a reminder of what those songs sound like.
Pick My Playlist. You choose the music.
Doing the dance moves here in the studio.
Sorry, I lost myself there a little bit.
Just joining in, it's fine. It's 01452 307575 to choose between those songs. Tragedy by Steps. She doesn't want to hear that, but if you love it, phone in. And Hotel California by the Eagles, and it's 81333. When you text, start your text with the word gloss, and it's also nicky@bbc.co.uk for your emails, and tell us why you want to hear either the Eagles or Steps this afternoon. So you're here then to talk about, while people are kind of thinking and deciding on the music, talk about the Taking Flight Festival. And Michelle, first of all, let's talk to you about what it's all about, where the idea came from, because you're touring it around the country, aren't you?
Yes, we are. The idea came last year. We started a program of 3 kind of classical Chinese plays or English adaptations of Chinese plays, and we've been touring them around, and it's coming to a close of these 3 plays. And so we thought, what shall we do next? And what we've realized is that there hasn't been much stories, I think, from the East Asian, I'm East Asian, so the East Asian community of stories that really can connect, I think, to the British public. We found it just felt like there was a disconnect somewhere. So we thought we will launch a competition to find stories from the community and then give guidance on how to actually put it onto the stage for a British stage. So it's, so that everyone can enjoy these stories. So yes, they can understand it and also see something different on stage. At first, it was only East Asian, and then we decided, well, actually, there are other minorities out there. There's South Asian, Southeast Asian. So we opened up the category, and suddenly we got flooded in with quite very, very cultural stories, which are very personal as well. Everybody writes from experience and their heart, I suppose. So and we were just overwhelmed, and this is what we came with. And now we've got the 3 fantastic stories from East Asian, from Southeast Asian, and from South Asian.
And you're ready to tour them around the country, aren't you?
And we're touring them around. I think if you're not from London, you are in an area that has a very largely kind of British, kind of Caucasian base. And when you're in London, you feel very multicultural. And so I want to take these stories out of London and actually tour around so that we can actually, just go out and see other people as well and, kind of talk to them and show them our stories.
So you're coming to Cheltenham's Everyman Theatre Studio here in Gloucestershire. Let's hear about the stories then, because we've got 2 of the writers in the studio, Chandi, who doesn't like steps but does like the Eagles, and Sammy as well. I don't know what music you'd have picked, but which of those 2 would you go for, Sammy?
Oh, it's a tough one. I think Hotel California is a good karaoke song, or a bad karaoke song, depending. But I think tragedy reminds you of school discos, so I'm going with Hotel California.
Yeah, so Eagles for you then.
Yeah.
But more importantly, let's hear about your story, because you've written a story called Ketchup, and it's a look at what our food can say about us. Tell us about the idea behind it.
Yeah, it's really quite personal again. I grew up in a chippy in Manchester, so I'm always about food. I talk about food. My Chinese culture is very centred on food, as is Vietnamese culture. So it's really just about what food can say about us and how we identify with different types of food. And it's a story between a mother and a daughter in a chip shop, and their dialogue, their discussions, and their kind of life of that, yeah.
So how does your background come into this? Because obviously it's a sort of celebration of Asian writers, as we've been hearing, and the backgrounds that you come from, your family background, how does that fit into the story?
Yeah, my mum came to this country in 1980, one of the Vietnamese boat people, and she's Chinese and Vietnamese, so she has a much more interesting history than me. So I thought, well, I should probably write her history than mine, because I was just born in Manchester and that was it, really. But it's really just inspired by her incredible journey over here, and bringing that onto stage is really exciting.
Yeah, how exciting is it to see your story? You haven't seen it yet, but you will do soon, your story on stage.
Yeah, it's exciting, but it's also incredibly scary. So I'll probably be in the back on the floor somewhere. I'm quite annoyed it's sold out in London, because there's no space for me to lie on the floor and just kind of close my eyes. So we're going to have to I think my friend's going to have to prop me up quite a few times. But I'm sure it's going to be great.
You have to stand outside, just listen for the applause.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah. You have to hear the applause.
Yeah.
So Chandi, let's hear about your story, because another winner, and you've got through to this stage now, and your story will be on stage. So what's your story about?
So my story is called Hema Anjali. It's about 2 sisters who have sort of grown up together on a bunk bed, essentially sort of driving each other mad for years, as me and my sister have.
It's based on your own experience then?
Yeah, it is. And it's sort of the older sister, Anjali, is getting married, and Hema is kind of struggling to deal with what that will mean for their family, and sort of to let go. And as well as that, it's Indian weddings, I don't know if you've been to one, but they are very thunderous and extravagant, and she sort of struggles to find her place in that. And so Anjali sets her a task, which I'm not going to say what it is because it's a spoiler, but she sets her quite an interesting task to complete at the wedding to kind of get her through the day. And as Hema goes about completing that task, she remembers things from their childhood. So it's hopefully a sweet, funny piece about sisters that hopefully lots of people can relate to.
It's a bit like when, I guess, I'm trying to relate it to weddings I've been to, and someone challenges the best man to get certain words into his speech with great hilarity, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's maybe more physical than that, but it's a similar sort of a little tradition that that's meant to be fun and take some of the seriousness off the day. So
interesting. So we'll hear more about the festival and the ideas behind it in the next few minutes. But let's hear another one of your song choices now, because while everyone's deciding whether they want to hear the Eagles or Steps, you've also picked one of the first songs that you bought, and you've gone for a Spice Girls song. Tell us about this one.
So yes, I mean, like everyone, most kids and girls especially that grew up in the 90s, the Spice Girls were a huge influence. I had the lunchbox and the makeup and the t-shirt, and
I didn't know there was a Spice Girls lunchbox.
Oh, there was. I think it's still in my garage somewhere. And actually the song is actually featured in the play. If you come and see it, you'll hear it again. And it's a sweet song that really reminds me of being a kid again. I've really picked a theme here, really running with it.
Memories of childhood. And one of the great Spice Girls songs from the late 90s, it's Say You'll Be There. Spice Girls, Say You'll Be There here on BBC Radio Gloucestershire. Nearly 3:25. It's Nicky here with the afternoon show. We'll get the latest on the roads very shortly. We're talking live in the studio to Michelle Yim, who's part of artistic director, actually, for Red Dragonfly, who are putting on this Taking Flight festival at Cheltenham's Everyman Theatre Studio. And two of the writers of the plays that are going to be performed there, Chandi and also Sammy, are in the studio. Responsible for the music this afternoon is Chandi. We were just discussing the Spice Girls, weren't we, and how it takes you both actually back to childhood.
Yes.
And it appears in both of your plays.
Not mine.
Not
I took it out.
We took out the reference.
Sorry, I just it's too personal.
It's a great simile though. Like what could be worse?
What could be worse than when
Jerry
left the Spice Girls?
I can't really think of very many things.
Robbie leaving Take That. That's the other.
Now you've gone and brought it up.
So we'll talk some more about the plays that you're putting on and bringing to Cheltenham and touring around the country. But you have chosen your favourite and least favourite songs too. We just need to remind people what they are.
Pick my playlist. You choose the music.
There we go, there's your choice, Eagles or Steps, and I would say at the moment it's a draw between the two. So do phone if you want to hear Hotel California or Tragedy. Which one do you want to hear? Or maybe you don't want to hear one, so you vote for the other one. It's 01452 307575. Afternoon to Matt, who says, thank you for making Thursday a pure joy. Spice Girls. One very happy Matt. Yeah, Matt listening and enjoying your choice of music this afternoon.
Spice Girls seems to be part of everybody's lives somehow. We were talking about that in rehearsal. Everybody seems to be influenced by Spice Girls at some point of their lives. So
depending on how old they are. That's it.
There was Mega, who's one of the great actresses that's in our plays, who was like, I didn't grow up with the Spice Girls, and we all just looked at her as if she was some sort of alien.
Who did you grow up with?
Well, yeah, what happened there? Yeah.
A child of the 90s or a teenager of the 90s. Yes, it was the Spice Girls, wasn't it? Yeah. 3:25, we'll chat some more about the festival, which is coming to Cheltenham very soon. First of all, we'll get the latest on the roads.
BBC.
Good afternoon, it's Nicky with your afternoon show, and in the studio is Michelle, Chandi and Sammy, and they're all talking about this new festival called Taking Flight. It's travelling around the country and is a celebration of British Asian writers, and actually, Michelle, as you were saying, from various parts of Asia, that the stories come from different parts of the world.
Yeah, well, we've had submissions from Afghanistan and Malaysia, but sadly we cannot take them on because we are just concentrating in the UK. We are a UK-based British East Asian theatre company, and I think that's what we wanted with the festival itself as well, is that these are stories, although they are East Asian, South Asian and Southeast Asian stories, they are British stories as well. Both writers here, they are very British. If you listen to them, I don't know. I mean, I've still got a bit of an accent, I know, but when I listen to them, they don't have actually any, South Asian or East Asian accent at all. They are very British.
It only comes out when I speak to my gran. That's the only time.
Oh, really?
And I couldn't do it on the spot.
I wasn't going to ask you to do it on the spot.
No, yeah, I was just checking. No. But no, yeah. Do you get that?
No, I think my accent gets even more northern when I go to Greg's or something,
nice.
rather than it getting any less British. But yeah.
Yeah.
And how much of a challenge was it, or what was it like when you were faced with, okay, I'm writing a play here or something that could be translated to the stage, to bring in the British culture that you know with the Asian culture of your family? Well, what kind of challenge was that like?
Well, I guess it wasn't too much of a challenge, just because that is just my experience. I think if I was having to, it would possibly be a bigger challenge if I was having to write only like a South Asian story that didn't encompass anything to do with my British identity, because it's very difficult for me to separate the two, I guess. But yeah, it was more scary just having a blank page and knowing that there was going to be an actual play. That was definitely a sort of bigger, it's quite different when you're writing knowing that there's going to be an end performance rather than just sort of for my desk drawer.
Has it changed very much from what you wrote down on that blank page to what we're going to see on stage?
Not so much, really. I hopefully it is the same heart of the idea, and the guys at Red Dragonfly, Ross, who's our director, has just been really brilliant at not trying to shape the piece into anything. He's just been really supportive of us finding our own voices, and just that was my experience anyway. I felt
Yeah, and Sammy, we mentioned that yours is called Ketchup. Look at what food says about us. So how has yours changed, if at all, from what you sat and wrote when you had that blank page in front of you to what's going to be on stage?
Yeah, initially the story was just about a mother and daughter in a chip shop, but then the ketchup thing came maybe in the second draft, third draft. So it was, I don't know, it just came out of nowhere really, so I was quite lucky to get that in. You'll see in the play why it's called Ketchup, because it's quite an odd title, but it is very relevant to the story and today's issues in the world, so it's, You're bringing in sort of cultural issues and, I don't know, issues in the news and that kind of thing into the play? Yeah, it's very linked to what has happened in the past and what is happening today and how we actually learn anything. So it's, it kind of drops you in it towards the end, but it's hopefully I've done it okay, and it's a good play, so we'll see. And have you been at the rehearsals? Do you know what it's going to look like on stage? No, we just went to the table read, and that was
great. It was really cool to hear it read by actors, and they're all just really brilliant. So
one of our sitting around a table,
so one of our challenges was actually to kind of bring the writers in somehow, is because these writers, they've never written for stage and they have other jobs as well, so it's trying to kind of coordinate with kind of rehearsals and trying to get them in at the right time to see what it is, but at the moment I think writers have been great. They've been so brave to actually kind of just let us do their stories. I think that's a very brave step to do, because it's something so personal. It's handing it over, isn't it?
Exactly. I now hand over the control of the radio station to you, Chandi, one more time, because we're going to play another of your tracks. And this is one of the most recent songs that you've downloaded, a George Michael song.
Well, it's sort of more streamed, because that's what I do these days, rather than downloading, which feels, it's kind of good, because then you have the library to be able to play whatever you want, but then I guess I don't feel like I own any music anymore, which is, I guess, a bit sad. But it's George Michael's Faith, which I'm going back to childhood again, I'm sorry. But it's George Michael was one, I think, in my family we all have very different music tastes, but George Michael was something we could always agree on. So I was very sad on Christmas to learn of his passing, and I was actually abroad in America where my group of friends had never heard of George Michael, which was Like just
Really?
yeah, it was really crazy. I suddenly announced in the middle of Christmas, and oh my goodness, George Michael's passed away, and they were like, who? And so I immediately had to go and
immediately stream some music
as soon as possible.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's it, and let them know the back catalogue of George Michael. Here he is then with Faith. Here on BBC Radio Gloucestershire, 25 to 4 on your afternoon show. And we've been talking about the Taking Flight Festival, and it's at Cheltenham's Everyman Theatre studio. Is it all polished and ready to go, Michelle?
Yes, it is. We're very excited to launch.
Brilliant.
Taking Flight.
It's well rehearsed and ready to come to Cheltenham. So the details are, it's on Tuesday the 7th and Wednesday the 8th of February, so that's next week. It starts at 7:45 both nights. 90 minutes, no interval? Is
Yes,
that right?
90 minutes, no interval. And we have a matinee as well on the Wednesday. Yes, 2
3
p.m.
performances then. And
Yes.
it's at the Everyman Theatre, as we say, £10.50 for a ticket. Best of luck, everybody, with it.
Thank you.
And I know you'll be very nervous, won't you, when you wait to see what it looks like on stage, but I'm sure it'll be fantastic, and hopefully lots of people will come along to the performances here in Gloucestershire. So,
Thank you very much,
Thank
Nicky.
you, Michelle.
Thank
Thank you.